All right, Mike here with That's Good Enough for Me. We're doing our Who's Zoomin' Who series. I'm stoked to be with 3/4 of Midtown. We have Tyler, Rob, and Heath. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Doing great.
Good.
Great to see you.
Fantastic. Now, before we dive in, I guess I'll kind of ask everybody what they're up to as far as personal work and stuff like that. I've had a good time digging back into your discography over the past couple of weeks and preparing for this. So we'll start with you, Rob, because I found out about an hour ago, and I'm gonna cyberbully you about this, but I found out that you're on the record label to put out the new "I Am the Avalanche" record, which I'm a huge fan of.
That's funny because that record label I actually started while Midtown was touring in 2003. I actually wanted to start a record label in high school, but I figured you needed money to start a record label, and I didn't have any. And in the 90s, the other way to start a record label was like to ask everybody in your town and other towns that were in bands if they had a song to put on a compilation. So I don't know if you all remember, but there was like 5,000 compilations going around in the 90s, late 90s. And they all had, every band that was on it was the exact same song from every band. So it was like, I'm like, why would I put out another compilation with the exact same songs from every band? So in 2003, this guy, Greg, through his friend Laura, sent me their music. And I was like, okay, this seems like a perfect time to start a record label. So that's how that record label that you heard I Am the Avalanche on started. But I mean, today, I still have that record label and I still do it and it's really fun. But I actually went back to school a few years ago to one of those coding boot camps. And so now I do coding stuff for my career in addition to the label. And that's what I'm doing mostly now, other than being in my apartment 24 hours a day, seeming like I'm not going out of the apartment for days at a time. So, but yeah. Just if you see me smirking, yeah. If you see me smirking right now, it's because Tyler and Heath are sending things to me on text message right now, which nobody else can see, and I'm trying to keep my cool.
It's a good one, though.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's move over to you, Heath.
So I played in Midtown with these fine gentlemen, and after Midtown, I played in Census Fail for 4 years. Released 2 albums with those guys. And then I stopped playing music and decided I need to learn how to do something with my life. So I became an electrician, went through the apprenticeship program, did the night school thing, completed the apprenticeship, and I'm still at the same company. But now I'm a project manager and I run electrical and lighting jobs as I guess construction manager, project manager. And over the past year, I've been playing a little bit more. I've had a couple projects with some friends. Did a couple songs for the Jersey Interchange, which was some guys who were in bands from New Jersey from the late 90s, covering other bands from the late 90s in New Jersey. And did some songs with my friend Dave from Texas, who's actually, I don't know if you guys know what's going on in Texas right now, but they have like no power. They've been out of power and water for like the last 3 or 4 days. I was talking to Dave before, it's like 40 degrees in his house. It's crazy.
Wow.
So sending good vibes out to him. We started covering some songs last year acoustically, and just been really into gear and playing. I've been picking up some really weird stuff here and there. Got that sweet little PV on the floor. It's a nice little 20-watt amp. But I've just been enjoying the time at home with my wife and kids. I'm staying busy working and playing guitar.
Hell yeah. Cool. Tyler.
So despite the guitar that's in the background, where you can see it right now, I have not been playing a ton of music over the past quite a few years. And much like Heath, after the most amazing experience ever of getting to play music with your best friends and travel all over the world and really get exposed to so many different things, I sort of thought long and hard about the things that I thought were really important in my life and the things that I really valued, and tried to understand how to segue those things and those sort of skills into a new into like a new life and a new opportunity. And I've been working in the fashion industry now for, I don't know, 12 plus years. And, had a lot of the same sort of elements of things that I really enjoyed of like traveling and creative people, and the opportunity to sort of like, engage people in things that are really special or beautiful or unique and tell stories. And the same, I just sort of, I needed a change of life to grow up. And I've been, thank God, I've been married for, it'll be 12 years. It'll be 12 years this year. And I have 2 children. And I've probably never been happier in my life to have this amazing balance of great reality of current, and bringing up the people that I really care about from the past into the present. So, I've been real happy.
Good. Cool. All right. So now we'll kind of dig backwards. I kind of wanted to just talk about, when Midtown broke out for me, as a listener of pop punk music, fan of the drive-through era, all of that stuff. You were considered amongst my circle as kind of the most intelligent, I would say, artists out there. Using words like affectations. And, you guys are
part of the vocabulary for all of us. Probably, once you know it.
And as someone that still writes songs, I still try to challenge myself on the thesaurus when writing songs to break through kind of the generics of pop punk, which I think really, are one of the reasons behind its demise. A song about memories and your hometown and the cliche of the pop punk song. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. We kind of chalked it up to the fact that you were these like college boys and that's how you were advertised. But I just kind of wanted to break into how much work was actually done methodically to make the songs a little bit more intelligent.
Well, I mean, to be honest, there is truth to the fact we certainly, we did go to college together, and backstory being that we all grew up relatively close to each other, but, back then being young and even before we could drive, all of these little towns that were nearby, still felt kind of far. So the amount of time that we spent together was mostly we all were playing in different bands and would play together. Heath and I were in a band together. Rob was in a band and Gabe was in a band. And going to college, Rob was already in college at the time, because Rob is 17 years older than the rest of us, which I think is important to point out. We all kind of did engage at Rutgers University together, and lived in a house together, which was kind of apparent from the beginning of, what's great about college is like you're sort of a grown up and you're sort of a kid. And although we were going through the grooves of college, we all had the same sort of dream of what to do. And really what our focus was not on school. It was definitely on being a band. And I think there were a lot of musical influences that were happening at that time in our town. And, New Jersey is definitely incredible because for a small state, how much music and art and culture come out of it. And in this one town, I mean, we could name there was a band called Lifetime that was super influential to us. There was, the Bouncing Souls were from there. There was a guy from a band who ran our practice space that we all really liked. I mean, all of these bands, all of these shows, all of these kids forming bands from, whether it was Thursday, who were like lived down the street from us and playing in their band, or to Saves the Day, who were, relatively local, all of these people. And it was sort of just like, that was like a more, for lack of a better word, maybe sensitive time in music where people like actually gave thought to stuff like that. Does that make sense? Am I saying sensitive in is that the right word? Or introspective? And I think, there definitely was a lot more thought into actually saying something in music at that moment. I don't know that we really had much to say necessarily, but there was definitely an interest in putting intelligent words to paper. Rob, Heath, and to add to that.
Well, I also think Gabe is just a really smart guy. You know, if he didn't do music, like shit, he would have been a killer attorney, you know? So I think that was just part of second nature for him to write a song that uses the term affectation. However, I mean, if you step away from that and you just look at I remember just hanging out and learning the terms, like, it's not an official term, but how important it was to have a guitar harmony in part of the song. And I at the time, I didn't know what a guitar harmony is, but I knew what it was going to be and what it should sound like. So, you know, I think, you know, if you step off from the lyrics, there was definitely a concerted effort to be interesting in the things that we did, because it's very easy to just be stale, right? And even if you look at, you know, I think a lot of bands, you know, today it's like, okay, they have their bar, which is Foo Fighters, or, you know, maybe if your genre is a little different, it's The Killers or Kings of Leon, or even Imagine Dragons, you know, whatever it may be. But like back then, you know, we worked as hard as we could. And I think a lot of the bands like us looked at, potentially you could see a band like No Effects, right? And you could say, or Bad Religion, and be like, to aspire, you don't have to aspire to be this massive, huge, like, just pop band that writes, you know, regular, traditional, you know, verse, chorus, pre-chorus, chorus, post-chorus, verse, whatever. But you could be happy, you know, attaining something very specific that didn't have to be watered down. And we paid a lot of thought to that as well. And I think it extended anywhere from the lyrical content to the guitar playing, which, you know, even though I was the drummer, I always really enjoyed, you know, hearing what Tyler and Heath did. And I think it extended even beyond that to, you know, other parts of, you know, what we wanted to do as a band. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So I
like
think
that term.
during interviews, go ahead.
Oh no,
I'm so sorry. Let me just. I'm going to stop you a second. So, like, we're grown men, right? Like me, Tyler, Heath, we're all fucking grown men. And around anybody else in the world, we're extremely serious, very mature. But the second the
You
three
get us
of
together.
us you get us together, and we're 8 years old again. Like, I'm sorry that this is immature and inappropriate and unprofessional, but they're texting me dudes' butts images.
Not they. But I just had to put my phone away because I see Rob looking at his, and I know what's going on, and I have to
just look at it.
There was a turkey.
Just look at it.
There was a picture of a turkey. Yeah, there was like a turkey or something. I don't know what that was. I'm not looking at it again. I'm not going to
look at the other one.
No.
We never get to hang out. Listen, I'm like a professional executive person during the day and a dad at night. I never get this opportunity. I'm dying.
No, I mean, and to be honest, without like tooting a horn here, because I started this show out of like COVID boredom, like everybody else. But I've had these amazing moments, and Rob, this is why I encouraged you to join on the email today, where I can see in people's eyes that they're having their own like little reunion, and I just get to sit back and drink these spiked seltzer things. I'm very happy with whatever you guys want to do to fuck with Rob, especially when he's talking as long as he's just talking.
That's one of the central tenets of our band, is just taking every opportunity to fuck with Rob.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, to go back to go back to guitarmony, and part of, you know, being like a bitchy old man that hates new pop punk music is because I set up all these boundaries and rules. But I'll never forget I was having a conversation with a guy that really inspired me as a songwriter, and he pulled out an MXPX record, and I'm a huge fan of that band. But he said, listen to every time Mike Herrera starts a sentence with a vowel. And sure enough, he begins it with a W because it's easier to hit the note if you say why, like why I'm walking instead of I am walking. It's easier to reach the note if you start with a W, right? So that just kind of opened up like a Pandora's box for me of like, all right, what makes a pop punk band suck, or what makes a pop punk band shine? And that's one of the reasons that I really wanted to discuss this with you guys, because rather than just being like, so you changed your sound on the last album, how'd you guys come up with your name? You know, we can kind of talk a little bit more about the details of what can and cannot make pop punk music good. So on that behalf, the first thing I was going to ask, and Heath, you can answer this, upon digging through your discography, I was stoked on Tidal that you had your EP even before Save the World was on there. So I was able to kind of see the evolution. Wanted to talk about whose idea it was to start yelling, yeah, in the middle of songs, because because like Fall Out Boy started doing that because of you guys. And that's amazing to me. It became a phenomenon. It became like a pop punk trick to yell yeah in the middle of the song. And as far as I've been able to dig, you guys were the first people to do it.
Interesting. I think that
I can text message you pictures of butts if it'll help.
Thank you. And as many as you can find. No, that's interesting. A bunch of yeahs in the song. I don't know. I would have to throw it back even earlier to maybe like Piebald. You know, like there were a lot of yeahs in Piebald songs before we were doing it. But
okay.
But I don't know if that was, you know, I don't think that we really even listened to Piebald back then. It might have been just independent innovation.
His was more like adorable elementary school teacher by day, band guy, nerd. Yeah, though.
Yeah,
you guys had some fire behind it.
There was a Jersey, yeah. I guess is a little bit more dirty.
I think it's just like more of the rock and roll, right? Like,
well, you do have Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just Google songs that have yeah in them?
No, I'm that good. Thank you.
No, Rob knows his crew.
Look at you, Rob.
But no, I think like, you know, that's definitely something that I think like a lot of people back then were not very into rock and roll, like traditional rock and roll or classic rock and roll. And that's definitely something that we didn't shy away from. I mean, we even, you know, we took the Kiss song from, well, I guess not really Kiss, it's really Argent, but but Kiss covered in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey at the end. God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I don't think there were many bands who were referencing, to our knowledge, it was Kiss at the time, but I always feel like there was some rock and roll attitude, New Jersey kind of vibe going on in there too. Like we weren't afraid to embrace that part of music.
Yeah. What did you think of the new movie? Did you get to watch it?
Which movie?
So this is interesting. I found this image on the internet, and you can't see it because it's cropped off the bottom. The bottom of the photo says, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently there is a lot of yeah on Midtown, which I did not know about.
I think it's just because we were so psyched about it. When you get psyched, you just yell yeah.
That works. That's an acceptable answer. But I will say, that it carried over. And really, I think of the starting line, Homegrown, you guys, Newfound Glory, just that kind of era of drive-through completely molded the later releases from bands like Fall Out Boy. And it's interesting. I talked to Adam from Homegrown about this previously, where, he was a huge influence to me. I wanted my band to sound exactly like his band. And then when I'm, putting my guitar down and I'm a computer programmer. So doing the 9-to-5 thing, never thinking about touring ever again. It's kind of like, man, why did I set out to sound exactly like that guy who didn't go anywhere?
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Nice, Rob.
Did you
Yeah.
time travel?
There he is.
So did they just Photoshop Tyler's hair on Rob for that picture?
Yeah, reverse.
They mirrored it and put it on there.
I will tell you, there's definitely some photoshopping going on inside that album, because on those photos I've noticed over the years that, or we were once just really young and we looked different, but it looks it to me. It looks it to me.
Now, when you hit Sokol Underground, I was like, man, they look like they shot the music video for Give It Up and then like just walked next door to play the show.
Amazing.
To kind of step off of your comment about rock and roll and how you guys kind of held that in the background, which was appreciated. I wanted to talk, I don't know if you guys knew this, but it's like 14 months away from being the 20-year anniversary of the first and last show that the Lords of Seaman ever played.
Oh,
That's deep.
That is deep.
Nope.
Whatever happened to those guys? They were like a kick-ass band.
So this was one of the co-writers on That's Good Enough for Me. I said I was doing this. He claims that there's Lords of Seaman merch, or was.
Yeah.
There is. Yes, there is.
There were t-shirts. That was it, just t-shirts.
I think I might have one in my basement, actually. Mike, you got to send me your address.
Well, no, rather than wanting it, when it comes to something that says Lords of Seaman on it, I almost want you to take it to Goodwill in hopes that somebody else sees like a strange person wearing it that doesn't know what it is, where it came from.
So a fun fact for you, Mike. So when Lords of Seaman performed, never forget. So I think Gabe was only doing vocals for that show, and so we didn't have a bass player. So the bass player for that show, we got our friend Arun to perform, who then became the guitar player of Saves the Day. So the Lords of Seaman bass player became the Saves the Day guitar player.
Yeah,
So
he played on that song. He played on Rock and Roll All Night.
And that's enough degrees of separation for Lords of Seaman to have their own Wikipedia page then.
I mean,
yeah, someone should get on that.
100%. 100%.
All right. That's a nice, tasty nugget. That's the type of content that I'm trying to gain here. So. Next, I wanted to talk about the multiple singers in the band. That was something that turned me on to you guys immediately. However, just due to production value on the second record, it became one of those situations where I had no idea whose voice belonged to who. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that going into Forget What You Know. That record was pretty Gabe heavy from what I was able to gather today when I listened to it. But did you guys, produce your own songs and bring them to the group? Was it something that you kind of jammed together and decided you were going to sing different parts of, or how did all of that operate in the band?
When we first started, we would bring songs to each other and work on them together in practice. Some would be maybe 25% complete, maybe 85% complete, depending on the song. Sometimes there was just music or an idea, and then we would jam on it. But by the time it came to the last album, To Forget What You Know, a lot of that was done in practice, just jamming through things. Someone would bring like a very tiny nugget, and then all four of us would put it all together into a song. We would jam on it. I remember having extensive, long jams on Give It Up. That was at one point like a 12-minute long song. Do you want to add to that, Steve? Do you want to come in? This is my
Is that a pterodactyl?
creaky door. Yeah, but
I feel like in the beginning that song was just that little like bat 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 and the drums. And then basically Heath playing a guitar solo for 12 minutes, which was insane.
I just got a delay pedal and I was like, let's see what this bad baby can do. And we'd just crank up the delay. And sometimes I'd throw the guitar behind my neck and and then we would just kind of jam out on that until we all got tired, and that was it.
Yeah, but I do think that
it explains how like deeply wound that record is. You know, you can tell that you wrote it and revised it and revised it. So,
yeah, I think for that one in particular, it was sort of, you know, it was sort of like the juxtaposition of the record before, where we spent so much time doing pre-production and then, I mean, forever recording the album in the studio, where it didn't feel very live and it was very produced and very, you know, we were a bunch of like young guys, like living in Los Angeles and all the fun that goes along with that, and taking our sweet time to do it. And then for the final record was basically, as Heath was mentioning, like, you know, we just jammed all these songs. And I mean, someone with a better memory can correct me on how quickly we recorded it, but we did it it was very live in comparison to everything else, which had been pieced out over months.
Yeah.
And so it needed to be at the place where it was like ready to go. And also I feel like instead of 15 tracks of, you know, of guitar and then like renting a giant church organ to be set up and put in for like 2 notes, which actually happened for Living Well's The Best Revenge. This one, we were like, we wanted to actually be able to play it live in the space. And we did it with a different kind of producer who was much more into that kind of feel. It was, you know, sort of like going from a huge, big, over-the-top production to something very much more scaled back. So I guess the songs were that much more figured out and that much more fine-tuned because they had to be replicated in less tracks, which I probably never thought about before.
Yeah, by the time we went out to record it, we knew exactly what we were playing. Tyler and I recorded our guitar tracks in the same room next to each other, full songs. Start the song, go through the whole song, and that was it. Mistakes and all, you know, it was just, we were looking at each other record. We'd never done that before, and I've never done that since. And it was just like, it captured a really cool live vibe. I think there are three or four overdubs on that record, and the rest is just live guitar.
How quickly were we recording? I feel like that was very, very quick in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to say it was three weeks.
Yeah.
Like we did we do pre-production there? Or did we have it all figured out? I think we might have done a little, or like we knew like where to like leave the spaces when we were recording for like things that weren't quite figured out. But I think we did like 1 or 2 days of pre-production. Then Rob did his drum. You did your drums in like 3 days, right? And then we did our guitars in maybe 2 or 3 days. And then the rest was just vocals and
all the extras.
I
still remember, very different than Doug Messenger Studios, which was where we recorded our first album, which has recently turned 21 years old, which is crazy. And that was like in a real seedy part of LA, which I don't remember where it was exactly.
I think it was on
North Hollywood.
Lancashire. It was on the road.
It was like somewhere real sketchy. Like the area was not nice. And
I was there
really
last year, a year or two ago. I was there. I drove by there because I saw the donut store. Where is it? Van Halen's son, Huey Lewis's son, Van Halen's son, that you once saw. Like,
it was the singer from Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot's son.
Yeah, he worked at the bookstore next door.
Oh, so it's the bookstore next to the donut place or something like that, or
bookstore next to the studio. Yeah.
So I recognized it. I don't think that's like a bad area anymore after 20 years since we recorded that.
It was back then. And I just remember like the concept of, you know, leaving college to buy a shitty van, to drive across the country, to be in that studio that quick. I just remember like not feeling underwhelmed by the whole experience, but certainly looking back on it after the second experience, I was like, wow, we did that really quickly in like a really gross place. And outside of seeing Corbin Burnson once, I don't know if you remember that, but that I remember.
At a pizza place?
At a pizza place.
Yep.
Roger Dorn from Major League.
Yes.
That was like the highlight. And Kevin DuBro's son, me calling him out and him getting angry. But
Pretty sure we saw Chris Hardwick at Baja Fresh as well.
Ooh, yes. Mark Trombino loved some Baja Fresh.
Yeah.
I love Baja Fresh.
And Mark Trombino was our producer, Mike, for our first and second album. And when we went out to go and meet with him, he had just done the Jimmy Eat World album called Clarity, which to my memories, and my memory is notoriously not good. But I remember many evenings just sitting in the car with Rob and with Heath and with Richard and Stephanie and with Gabe and everybody, just listening to that album and having it blow our minds. And we basically went to California and met him, and we played in like a noisy, loud, terrible practice space for him to hear us. He had just done Blink-182's Dude Ranch. He did Clarity. We're like, what are we doing? This guy's never going to want to work with us. And of course, he ended up being amazing and working with us and teaching us how to be a real band. You know, the memories of being in this like really weird place, and he was real quiet, and there were all these weird characters around, and we didn't know what was going on. And it was just, I mean, as you know, you played in a band. It was a surreal part of your life. And you're like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it's great. And just kind of moving from I told you I listened to the earlier EP before Save the World. It's fun to kind of see that arch, you know. It's the EP is good, but it's loose. It's the beginning stages of a punk band. I mean, it's what you're going to expect, but I'm happy that that's available. Next, I wanted to talk about Heath's fan club. I just wanted to know, is it like electrical customers now, or do you still receive fan letters?
I don't receive fan letters anymore. No, every once in a while someone will drop off a bag of Starbursts for me, but that's about it.
It died with MySpace.
It did. Went up in flames.
So when this is crazy. When I Googled to find a Midtown photo, when I went to get a drink earlier, so I could put it up on the Zoom background, I Googled Midtown photo band or something like that, and links to actual MySpace that are currently there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We still have a MySpace?
Kind of, but if you go there, if you click over there though, your phone or device will just like load with like 4 pop-up ads.
I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not going to do that again.
Now? No, I was just asking. I was asking my wife to get the dog to stop barking.
Oh no, that's fine. I mean, for me,
I wasn't. I'm not saying anything else.
Because I was able to get on MySpace and get like photos of my wife and I when we were dating. But it was like you got on there and you had like 70 seconds to find an image and save it. And then you just got like pop-up
Gone
ads
forever.
out of the way. Because then the next thing I did was like, oh, maybe I can go find some defunct punk bands, you know, where their music was only on MySpace or Pure Volume or whatever. And it just didn't happen. It's there, but it's like a skeleton.
But it won't play anymore. I had a band on MySpace. It wasn't a band. It was a project that I did called Annoyance. And it was just maybe like 20 or 40-second long programmed songs that were just the most horrendous, annoying, terrible sounds put together. And I was really proud of it. I wanted to listen to it the other day, and I found them, but it wouldn't play the songs.
Lost.
It's lost. Yeah, lost.
But if you guys are like me too, this has just been like a really, like the last 11 months have been really introspective anyways. Like I found myself, not only from getting to interview all these awesome people, digging into music I haven't thought about in a long time, but also just going through a journey of my own past, my entire local music scene in Nebraska, tracking it down. Rob, you were talking.
No, I'm just thinking about Heath's OnlyFans account that he didn't tell everybody about, where he holds
Yeah.
Nice.
Sorry.
Heath's fan club has
He's actually doing a live stream right now. That's why we can only see his top half.
So the butts they were texting me earlier were
Yeah, it wasn't
actually
meant.
Heath's.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't meant for you. You're not a paying customer.
Okay. Would you do an OnlyFans account if we could get some Midtown fans involved? Don't answer that. I wanted to talk about.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk. I just wanted to brush on the change in sound. I'm not going to ask you, why you did it, because of course you're songwriters and best friends, so your interests are moving everywhere as you're growing older. But while you were tracking, Forget What You Know, was any sense of like, oh man, some of our fans are going to fucking be weirded out by this?
A couple things. I mean, some things we went pretty soft on, and some things we went more aggressive than we had before. I mean, the last song on the album pretty much shows the whole spectrum. The song starts very aggressive and it ends and kind of fades out. And instruments come and go, and it's very clean. And there's some background percussion and just like a ton of vocals. We definitely tried some things on the last album that maybe we wanted to try earlier and we weren't able to fit in a song. But I think that's just what you do when you're in a band. You keep kind of trying to expand, what you do.
Absolutely.
Expand your skills.
That's why I'm not asking you why you did it or anything like that. I had a really good time. My wife and I watched all the starting line anniversary streams that just happened. And this went so deep that they opened up in between songs. They played 3 full album streams basically. And they were opening up hey, we've never played this song live because a producer made us write it. We think it's fucking garbage. Or, hey, we're going to play this song the way that we wrote it and not the way that it's on the album because some guy told us that we had to change it at the last minute. So I was a big fan of Forget What You Know when it came out. I did have some friends that were like, what the hell is this? How am I supposed to play this at a frat party and get drunk? But
the answer is played songs 8, 9, and 10 over and over again, and then you're good.
Really loud. Yeah.
No, and I'm looking. This is another foe of pop punk, right? Remember when we all wrote songs where the titles were a sentence long? So I have to write it down. But so long as we keep our bodies numb, we're safe. Probably my top 2 Midtown songs. I wanted to talk about the outro to that because that was a big inspiration for me as a songwriter, especially with the dueling vocals and it carrying on forever. Heath, was that a person?
It was a person. There's a person here.
Such a person. Yeah.
Reading on my couch right now, giggling.
But I wanted to talk about I always thought that you guys were planning on having just a standard fade out at the end of the song, but you were like, oh, this actually sounds really cool. We should keep this going for 8 minutes or something. How much of it was that? How much of it was intentional?
It was, I think it was pretty intentional to do it the way that we did it. I mean, it's a pretty blatant ripoff of Goodbye Sky Harbor by Jimmy World, if we're going to be honest. I mean,
sure.
We love the way that song ended, and we wanted to do something kind of similar. And just kind of have it go and turn into kind of a drone, if you listen to the beginning of the album, it starts with the stomping and there's kind of that droning sound under it. And I think we kind of wanted to write the musical equivalent to that at the very end of the album. Just have something get lost in.
It's interesting that you talk about that part. And I do remember recording it and it was we never wanted it to end because it was when you're writing and this as a songwriter, all the songs have parts. So there's it starts here and then it goes here and then it goes here and it adds this and it adds that. And it was sort of I can't imagine people necessarily listening to the whole thing all the way through. But understanding all of the little parts and that's one of the things that when I go back and I listen to it, it makes me it's very nostalgic and emotional for me. It reminds me it's we're all playing, we're all singing, all of these things are happening. It's really beautiful. It feels very, timely for a band's last album to end that way. Obviously we didn't think about that at the time. I think that there's a certain sense of maybe naivety of being young and being in a band and changing your music because we wanted to change it so they didn't just assume that everybody wants to go on this journey with you, just like why they would want to listen to an 8-minute long outro of like a super heavy killer beast of a song. But it's something like, I think is like, it's one of the best parts of that album. It's like everything that our band did well, you hear in that, and you hear it from like, I guess the stuff that we did well in the beginning to the stuff that we were getting into and hopefully doing well at the end, from like, the vocals that are going in different ways, the drums that turn into like programming and all that kind of stuff, and all the intertwined of everything, and acoustic guitars and pretty things. And, it's actually like that. If I had to play someone something for Midtown, not knowing the band or not knowing what I did, or if I ever get caught, like, I've had a rough day and it comes on my, shuffle. It's like, it makes me feel good. I feel like I'm back in that zone when I hear that part. I don't know about you guys. Like a lot of the other stuff doesn't hold up to me in a lot of ways. It's very nice memories, but it's not like, it doesn't sound great. But this like makes me feel like I'm in the song with everybody still. So it's actually quite cool.
Mike, in the songs.
It's in the songs.
You emailed me saying you wanted to talk
yeah.
about the drum fills and in the songs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was something, I figured since you were the contact that I was going to get to talk to you about all these cool drum things. Before we even get into that, I just wanted to talk to you as the drummer going into Forget What You Know, how thrilled you must have been to not have to play like fucking double time and stuff anymore, because that became kind of a common thing among artists at that time. The drummers are back there just breaking their backs playing no effects beats and stuff. And what I've learned in my old age is that the average person doesn't really know their way around the kit. If you're playing double time, they actually don't even really. They're not impressed by it at all. And it's some of the most hard work that you have to do as a drummer. So I wanted to touch on your drumming on Forget What You Know. You had a lot of fun. Your fill on Give It Up was excellent too. That super quick snare tom.
Yeah. So I guess on the first two albums, what I really did was, for the most part, especially in the beginning, is you just go with your feel on whatever drum fill or whatever drum thing that you want to do. Forget What You Know, I specifically remember thinking, okay, you could do the same thing over and over again, because I wasn't necessarily the best drummer in the world. So, well, how do you become a better drummer? It's not just doing what you feel. You actually should study and listen to other drummers. So if you listen to that drum fill, I think that fill you're talking about at the beginning, or actually happens a few places and Forget What You Know. If I recall, I was listening to The Color and the Shape by the Foo Fighters, and I said to myself, let me specifically try to figure out how to do some of these drum fills that, I think it was Dave Grohl that played, and not Taylor Hawkins that played on The Color and the Shape. And I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the first song going into the second song, the first song's real like chill and light, and then it comes with a big drum fill right into the second song. That's where I got my inspiration for that. But the thing was, I hadn't really played a lot of stuff that, you went from the snare to the tom, and then you switched, each hand going from snare, tom, like that. And I was like, all right, let me give this a shot. And then when we were, like you guys said before, I remember specifically being in Gabe's basement in Springfield, New Jersey, doing these first little pieces of Forget What You Know, just writing it out. I was like, let me see if that can fit here. And that was a lot of fun. And I think, I haven't played drums in many years really, but that's certainly something. If I ever had to write a new song, I'd go and I'd study and see what some of other drummers have done to try to like find some inspiration to be a little more creative than to just do what just feels right. To come out of your comfort zone, I think is a lot of times the most interesting stuff that you can write and play does and happens.
I would like to make a correction there on Rob.
Okay.
Because right before COVID happened, you did play the drums, and it was like riding a bicycle for you. We went and we had band practice in Hoboken, New Jersey, literally like this is so fun. It came back quite immediately. And we were like, we're going to do this all the time. And then COVID happened. Like literally, we were like, hey, have you heard about that thing? Do you think it's going to come here? We're like, nah. And then like, I don't know what day that was. But
I think we practiced on a Wednesday. And then like the next Monday, everyone's home for the next year.
Wait, so was that the first week of March? Because it was kind of warm out that night.
Yeah.
It was like March 10th, I think, we got together.
Yeah,
March 10th, we were together. Wow.
Yeah.
So I went in a band. I played drums, and I went to Denver and Colorado City. I did like a weekend thing at the tail end of February. It was like very seasonably warm, I remember, because it was, you're in the mountains. Played in this place called Streets Denver that the owner died of COVID, and the venue is still open by a thread. Awesome guy. But that night he loaded us full of booze, and I was in the green room, and some really weird guy came in that was like friends with the owner and started telling us all about how the world was going to shut down because of this virus. And we were all like, get this wacko out of here.
It's crazy.
But yeah, in the songs, Rob, is just, I think as someone that can play drums, that's just probably the sweetest pocket I think that any song in your discography is, as far as being a drummer. The flashy fill at the end is a little excessive, but it's just a really fun piece of writing, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about that. Also, you corrected me in the email because I referred to you guys having a song called "Let It Go." That's my daughter's fault. All right, I had to fucking watch Frozen like every day.
Yes.
Yeah, we lived through that nightmare too, Mike.
Yes.
Like,
wait. I don't have a kid. I need help. Explain.
I think Frozen was. You need a kid, or you need help.
You'll see. Your Frozen will still be happening. Don't worry.
Frozen. Okay, it's a thing in Frozen. Got it. All right. Okay.
So I sent you an email, and then it was like riddled with just, it didn't make any sense if you read it. And then I apologized, and I said, dude, my fucking 3-year-old is absolutely crazy this morning. And then I looked at it, and you're like, I think you mean "Let Go," and I said, damn you, Lennon. But anyways, that's my shtick on the drums.
Yeah, you know what it was? The reason I got confused when I saw "Let It Go," I actually had it backwards, because that song "Let Go," the chorus goes "Come on, let go," but we also have a song that's called "Come On." So, but I had it backwards. So I was like, for a second, I was thinking, which song is he actually talking about? Is it "Come On, Let Go," or is it "Let Go"? I mean, but it wasn't "Come On," because "Come On, Let Go" is the same song as "Let Go." It's getting late here in New York. How's everybody else doing?
I thought that "Come On" was a Lords of Seaman original.
Ooh,
there you go.
Oh my God, I just caught that. That's bad. All right, you guys are dirty.
Well, that's pretty much what I had for questions, I guess, of sorts. I was going to kind of, and you said that you guys got together, all 4 of you guys got together and did a little rehearsing.
Gabe lives in LA now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so that was going to be my next question. In the slew of bands reuniting, playing full albums, you guys have not been a part of that. Is there any hope that you guys would ever do any sorts of shows again?
I think, I haven't given it much weight. However, I feel like Tyler is very convincing at trying to put together a show in his attic with his drum set that he apparently has. So if Midtown ever does a show, it will probably be with all of these men's children and their children's friends in Tyler's attic. That sounds weird and creepy, but
you framed it differently, but
yeah. No, I mean, I think that there's definitely a logistical issue happening right now because of the state of the world. But it has dawned on me probably most heavily that there is like generations of our own kids who don't know anything about this and would probably really enjoy that. And, we did play a reunion show in 2014, which was beyond fun, and, would love to, especially now there's so many reasons and causes of things that are so important, more now than ever before, like reasons for doing something, reasons for, you know what, it doesn't necessarily fit into my life as a 40-year-old man, but this is not only a selfish reason because I will have fun, but there could be something good that comes out of this, which is, me subtly starting to work on Rob. If you can feel the guilt that I'm putting on him already, just doing some good for the world, maybe doing something important, helping people. No, I want to do it. I think it'd be real fun. I think that there is a great line at the end of the movie Stand By Me that they talk about. You never had friends as good as the friends you had when you were, for the younger age. Yeah. But as long as we are all healthy enough and capable of doing something that other people want to enjoy with us, shame on us for not taking advantage of it. I talk about this all the time. Rob, you do something great at work. Heath does something great at work. Nobody stands up and claps for you. Nobody tells you afterwards, man, Rob, that code that you wrote, it changed my life. I got a tattoo of a floppy disk with the code that you wrote on it, and I'll have for, rest of my life. That kind of thing. That's doing something that we can selfishly enjoy and other people get pleasure out of. Come on. I would just hate to have an opportunity to do something, not do it, and then one day regret it. And I truly do hope that we can, get through this pandemic and then work on the logistics of, Gabe lives in Los Angeles. The rest of us live on the East Coast. You know what? Stranger things have happened.
I'm just in it for your barbecues in your backyard, Tyler.
I throw a killer barbecue. We are going to have some sweet. He's going to bring some Nebraska beef all the way out. We're going to have a show in my backyard. I'll bring my drum kit down from the attic. I got a PA ready to go.
Jeffrey Jellyneck from Strangers with Candy can come.
Yeah,
no, that's
stuff.
Perfect. Well, me and the 3 people that are going to watch us on YouTube have our fingers crossed that will happen. And I wanted to thank you guys for giving me the time today. It's been very interesting.
Well,
oh yeah, Mike.
Thanks for inviting us on your show.
Yeah, it's
Cheers.
a pleasure. Thanks so much.